There's an old house across the street from mine. City condemned it but never took it down, so I get the pleasure of seeing it every morning before I go to work. It really never was too big of an issue, just an eyesore. Well, until the noises started waking me up at night. It started with these loud bangs a little past midnight. Sounded like pipes being clapped together. At first I thought the city was finally working on tearing the whole thing down, but when I looked out through the blinds of my window, I didn't see anything or anyone. No cars, no bulldozers. I brushed it off and went back to bed. But the next 2 nights, it was the same thing. I thought maybe some kids had broken in and were vandalizing the place, or maybe squatters, so I called the police. The police didn't find anything. Said they heard no noises, nor did they find anyone or any evidence suggesting someone had been there. They gave me a number if I needed anything, and that was that. I felt like an idiot, but I knew I heard something. The next night, there were the same noises. I did my routine peeping Tom maneuver through my window blinds, and I finally saw something. A light. One of the rooms on the second floor. Oddly enough, the tone of the light was greenish, not the typical warm yellow or those white LEDs a lot of new houses are using these days. Someone was standing in the window. I couldn't make out any details, just a vague silhouette. I had enough confidence at this point to call the number the police gave me. I told them to hurry, since last time they didn't catch anyone. Within 5 minutes, they were already over there. I was positive this time would be different. They'd find someone. But when they came to my door to speak to me, I could tell that wasn't what they'd be telling me. And it wasn't. Nothing, they told me. This time they seemed frustrated, told me not to call again unless someone was in danger or there was a fire. At first I didn't know what to do. Maybe the police weren't quick enough. I'm sure of what I saw. I realized I would have to go check it out for myself. I jolted out of my sleep the following night to the sounds of screaming from that abandoned house across the street. This time I didn't check through the window. I just grabbed my .38 Special, checked to make sure it was loaded, and darted for the front door. When I got outside, I saw that green light like last time, but when I got close to the house, someone turned it off. I knew I was on to them and this was going to be the end of all this mess. I had them right where I wanted. When I got to the door, I didn't open it right away. I pressed my ear against it to listen. I heard laughing, like children playing. Great, scare some kids with a .38, what a hero I'd be. I put the gun in my pants on my backside and turned the knob of the door. When I opened it, there was nothing but silence. And with no lights, I couldn't really see anything. I had forgotten my flashlight due to being in a rush to get over here. Oh well, I guess. I yelled out for anyone to make their presence known. Nothing. Surely they must be upstairs in that room with the green light. My eyes were adjusting, but I still couldn't make out anything well. I felt my way through the blackness to find the staircase. Slowly, I went up the stairs and made it to the top. Children or no children, I was terrified. I opened the closest room to me, but found nobody. Second room, nobody. All that was left was a bathroom. Same thing, nobody. I went back downstairs and checked the rest of the house. Still, nothing. None of it made any sense. I couldn't call the police. What would I tell them? I know you didn't want me to call you again. Same stuff, still nothing. I ended up moving a few months later. I won't ever be able to explain what it was in that house, but I'm just glad I never have to deal with it again. I've been in demolition for most of my working life. For those that might not know, I basically blow up buildings for money. I've seen enough explosives to make the Taliban blush, armies of rats by the thousands, but in all my years, I had never seen something as bizarre in comparison to what I'm going to tell you now. We were cleaning an old hospital building of any potential persons that might have been inside. It's not as simple as yelling, "Anybody home?" and hearing if someone calls back. I'm talking about checking every room, no matter how big the building. It doesn't matter if it's 100 stories high or 100 stories into the ground. Otherwise, you're talking murder and a potential lawsuit. We had several guys for the above ground team, Team A. I was part of Team B, the guys who would go underground. God, I wish I was Team A that day. This building had no working electricity, so the elevators were out of order. Stairs were our only option. We made the descent to the basement level, rocking our PPE, hard hats, respirators, steel toes, the works. You never know when something might fall on top of you or what kind of air you might be breathing. The last thing you'd want is to breathe in deadly chemicals or asbestos. We got to the basement, and by this point, the light had nearly been sucked clean out of the air. Flashlights were at the ready. When we turned them on, we saw the entire basement had been flooded. We don't know how long, but the water was this murky brown, sort of like a stagnant pond, with spots of green that almost looked like algae was growing in it. We started checking rooms, wading through the foot of water around our ankles. We were nearly done checking one hallway set of rooms when we heard a woman speak. One of the guys made a shushing gesture with his hand so we could listen. It wasn't just one woman, it was several. They didn't sound far, just around the corner of the hallway we were currently in. Team lead yelled out for a response, but was met with silence. We made our way to the end of the hallway. It split, left or right. Team lead puts his flashlight left. Nothing but ethereal blackness. I was on his right, and when I turned my flashlight down that hallway, I nearly went for a swim by almost falling on my rear from what I saw. It was one of the women, but my lord did she look horrible. She was wearing a nightgown, tattered with dirt and blood. Her face looked like it had been mangled by a dog. Half of her nose was gone, and her hair was in knots. We'd asked her if she was okay and where the others were. She said she woke up here and didn't know where she was. She couldn't get out because she couldn't see. It was pitch black in there. Last thing she remembered was getting in bed. Turns out that there was nobody else there. The medics told us she'd suffered severe head trauma, which might be why we heard multiple women. She was talking to herself. Police launched an investigation to no avail. Nobody ever found out who did this to her. There was a building in our hometown that carried rumors about it ever since it was shut down over 30 years ago. Back then, people said it used to be a psych ward that got busted because the staff would abuse and mistreat the patients. The longer time passed, the crazier the rumors got. One being that those who died there still roam the halls, waiting for anyone to open the doors so they can escape. Probably adults just trying to keep kids out or vandals from tearing up the place. I don't believe in ghosts or any of that stuff, and neither do my friends, so we decided to break in and see for ourselves, maybe bring back a souvenir. On our way there, I could tell something was up. There was talk, but it was all whispers, and I wasn't included. Then everyone's faces went from smiling to straight. I asked what was up, and they said nothing. I didn't really care. I was too eager to squash this local legend for good. We pulled up to the front gate that surrounded the entire building. It was locked, but luckily you could just climb over it. When we all got over the gate, we just stood there gazing at the overgrowth and decay of what that place used to be. You couldn't see the walkway leading to the main doors. All the weeds had taken over. Moss and vines ran across the face of the building all over the place. It really didn't make sense how anyone would care if people vandalized it, but I guess you can't charge nature with a crime. We got to the main double doors. One of my friends tried opening it, but it wouldn't budge. Another said they'd go around and see if they could find another way. We stood there waiting, but eventually they got the front door to open. They asked if anyone would like to go first, but looking around, nobody wanted to. They all looked at me, and I said I'd happily go first. As soon as I walked in, the door slammed shut behind me. I felt a shiver crawl up my spine and my bowels nearly gave way. That might have been the closest I had ever been to crapping myself. My friends were laughing on the other side as I tried to open the double doors. They held it shut. "You're gonna be in there all night," one of them shouted. I turned my flashlight on so I could at the very least see. The place was huge. The main lobby led to several different long hallways. The hallways were so long that my flashlight didn't even reach the end of it. At this point, I didn't know where to go. Any direction was good enough, but then I heard footsteps down one of them. I turned my flashlight towards the noise, but couldn't see anything. Maybe it was a different hallway? Big places like this can throw sound around pretty well, confusing anyone of where it came from. I tried the next closest hallway. I was shaking so hard that the flashlight was jiggling all over the place. I slowly moved it to the next hallway. Then something grabbed me. Boo! I swung pretty hard and screamed like a little girl. Whatever it was started laughing, and I quickly moved my flashlight over to see if it was one of my friends. I was being pranked. "Gotcha! You really thought there was a ghost, didn't you?" Everyone was in on it. That explained the weird car drive over there. I quickly got over it, swearing to myself I'd get them back for it someday. We let the rest of our friends in and explored the place. Turns out there were no ghosts, no monsters. All the town talk was just talk. I took an old telephone as a little souvenir, one of those wired ones with the spin dial thing on it. I put it on my dresser in my bedroom if anyone wants to ask how I got it.